On this mileage unknown, I am on another road trip. Right now I'm in the CC. We're a couple hours north of Phoenix, headed back up to Idaho. Like a crazy person, I bought another project car. I bought it at auction. I haven't actually even seen it yet. My brother picked it up for me, has been driving it around a little bit, so I know it runs and drives. And he says it runs and drives excellent, which is really what we need, because today I'm driving up to Salt Lake, tomorrow up to Idaho, picking up the car, then back to Salt Lake, then back to Arizona. 4 days, a whole lot of driving. Now, the CC, which I love this car and have had it for about 7 years, is actually going up to Salt Lake and staying with my sister. So I'm gonna miss this car. On the way up, I've got nice air conditioning. On the way back, I'm gonna be driving an old Dodge with no AC. It's the middle of the summer. It's hot. I'm hoping for a very uneventful drive. Keyword there is hoping. Right now in the CC, I've got tools. I've got gas cans because the fuel gauge doesn't work in the new project car. And the last thing I want to do is be stuck on the side of the road somewhere because I ran out of gas. I'm pretty excited. Travis isn't as excited as I am. He thinks I'm a nut job for continuing buying project cars when we have project cars. So we'll see. I don't know. I might keep this one. It might go down the road. I got a pretty good deal on it at auction, and so I'm pretty excited about it. I'm excited to drive it. Stay tuned so you guys can check it out yourselves, and stay tuned for the road trip back. Man, there's something so oddly satisfying about seeing all nines on the odometer. I bought this car like seven or so years ago, had 27,000 miles on it. And so we've definitely put some miles in together. We're getting closer to rolling over to 100,000, which is, I think, pretty awesome. I always like those big milestones. Weirdly, I do like when you get all ones, all twos, all threes, all nines, all eights, whatever the case may be. But actually hitting that 100K mark is pretty cool. And, you know, so this car's done 73, 74, whatever, 1,000 miles for me and been a good car. It's going to my sister, so hopefully it continues to be a good car for a whole bunch more miles. My only regret, bam, there's the 100K. My only regret on these road trips is not being able to stop more. Like I was trying to say, as I'm driving through one of these small towns in between Phoenix and Salt Lake, you know, I've made this trip, I can't even tell you how many times, and just not got to stop at a lot of places. I mean, there's national parks between these two cities, there's lookout points, there's all these small towns that every time you go through one, you wonder what these people actually do and what gets them to stay here, you know? And I hope one of these days I can actually just take a nice slow road trip, stop at every place if I want to stop, not have it be, man, I gotta bomb up to Salt Lake, then bomb up to Idaho, then back and back. You know, I want to stop and look at some of what we actually have. I mean, it really is incredible. I actually, you know, I've passed the Best Friends Animal Sanctuary a million times and never stopped in there. And it's generally because I'm just out trying to get there and back. So hopefully on some of the videos in the future, you know, I really want to start doing some day trips in Arizona to see some of the stuff Arizona has to offer. I've lived there 20 years now, roughly, and barely seen any of it. And then, like I said, you know, driving through, you just have awesome scenery, and the scenery changes so much between Arizona and Idaho. It's incredible. And I think most of us don't take enough time to stop and look at it. I'm excited the car just hit 100K. That's gonna be it for right now. Back to driving. So here we are in Twin Falls, Idaho, working on a car that we didn't think we were gonna have to work on this trip. So apparently we've got a misfire on number 1 and number 2 cylinders in the Honda. We were on the way up to Idaho to pick up the project car, and now we stopped real quick to swap some coils. So hopefully we'll be back on the road soon. So kind of crazy. These were some cheaper coils off of Rock Auto. Not the cheapest, but they were cheaper coils off of Rock Auto. You can see the one that we pulled out of number 1 clearly has a burn or an arc mark or something. Number 2 doesn't look too bad, but you never know. The code said misfire number 1, number 2, so we're gonna replace 2 coils. Definitely hold on to that one just in case we have any issues on the other cheap Rock Auto coils.
They've been in there for 3 days.
3 days?
Yep.
Holy crap, the coils have only been in for 3 days. We hopped in for the road trip and already had one go out. So I guess even when you don't get the cheapest, maybe you should go just a little higher. We picked up the newest project car, and like a crazy person, I'm driving it from Idaho to Arizona. So this is gonna be a roadkill road trip here. We're gonna see how it goes. I realize I haven't even showed you guys the car yet, but it's a V8 4-speed. There's no AC. It's the middle of the summer. It's gonna be hot as balls when we get down to Arizona. Today we're going from Idaho to Salt Lake, spend the night. I'm getting up early tomorrow morning and bombing down to Arizona. Hopefully everything goes well. Like I said, we're in a old 70s V8 4-speed, and hopefully it turns out all right. This is just the first leg of the journey. You already saw us work on my brother-in-law and my sister's car, and this is the car I thought we would have to work on. I'm hoping that doesn't happen. I hope we just have a smooth, nice ride. I can tell you the speedometer doesn't work. I'm using the speedo on my phone. The fuel gauge may or may not work. I've got 5-gallon gas cans in the trunk and tools. Right now we're doing about 55, but we're on some back roads, so I'm okay with that. But obviously we're gonna have to get on some legit roads in a little bit and see how this thing goes. So stay tuned if you want to see how this episode turns out. No cup holder sucks, especially driving a 4-speed. 65, and that might be my speed for the next 900 miles. Here we are, about 40 miles in, and the car we're working on again is not the one we just picked up. So this is actually your first time seeing what I'm driving, and it is a 76 Dodge Dart Sport. So far the drive has been pretty good. The semi scared the bejesus out of me by honking its horn right next to me. This car right now seems to like 60 to 65. Above that I start to get a vibration in the rear end, so it's gonna be a little bit longer trip. I think we have another coil issue. We replaced 2 of them in Twin Falls yesterday. We're gonna swap one of the good ones to one of the bad ones and go from there. Made it our first 150 miles. I just put gas in it and it was just 6 gallons, which I think is not possible. That puts this car getting at like 26, almost 27 miles to the gallon. I seriously doubt that. So luckily I do have 2 5-gallon gas jugs in the back. I don't know, it might just be a venting issue on the tank or something, because it pumped in about 5 and a quarter gallons, shut off. Pumped a little more, shut off. Pumped a little more, shut off. And the fuel gauge pretends to work, doesn't work. So I honestly have no clue. I mean, if this thing got 26 miles to the gallon, it'd probably be a miracle. So, but we're back on the road. First 150, almost 160 miles down. We'll see how it goes. We definitely made it to Salt Lake and crashed out for the night. It's about 4:30 in the morning here in Salt Lake, which means it's about 3:30 in Arizona. I'm about to hit the road, and you know, I'm gonna go try and go push the car in my mind and go 250 miles in between Phillips. It's funny, I was talking to my buddy Les, who's a Mopar guy, and originally the first stop I was like, dude, is it possible this thing got 26, almost 27 miles to the gallon? He's like, not likely. And then after the next stop where it got probably about 25-ish, I'm like, I don't know, man, it seems like it's legitimately getting that kind of gas mileage. Slant 6 area of fuel mileage, and we're definitely a 318 and a 4-speed. So, but the car's been running really good, and we're gonna hit the road and see how it does the rest of the way. I made my first stop, and it was a shorter stop than I wanted to do, but still did 200 miles. Took around 9 gallons, a little over 200 miles, a little over 9 gallons right in there, which puts this thing about 23 miles to a gallon for that leg. I totally was prepared for this thing to get 12 miles to the gallon, 13, maybe 16, pushing it. I was not prepared for it to get 20 plus miles to the gallon, which is pretty awesome. Who knows, this could be my my new daily driver. It might have to add AC to drive it in Arizona, but so far, super happy with it. It's been a pretty easy drive. Most most of it's been 60 to 65. Like I said, it gets a little crazy vibration around 65 on when you let off the gas. My brother said it was worse before. He actually replaced one of the U-joints before I got there. Now I think it might be a little bit of a rear end vibration. But I'm gonna keep on keeping on. I don't know. If I get the chance to stop and look at anything cool, maybe I'll do that. Like I said, unfortunately, this road trip's been more about bombing and kind of just taking it easy on the cart because I needed to make it home. I am at the halfway part. Car's still doing great, pretty close to the Arizona border, but I tell you what, man, rolling windows down, I haven't had driver arm like this. I mean, you can see, maybe you can see my watch, but look at the difference between my bicep and my forearm. I don't know if you can see it, but, and that's with me using sunscreen. Honestly, I'm worried about my ears getting burned, and I am putting this stuff on constantly, so hopefully I don't get too crispy fried before this trip's all said and done. So I'm just outside of Lake Powell, and I pulled over just because I had all these people just blowing past me, and it was getting kind of sketchy, but kind of cool. Super Beetle, El Camino, Mustang, old truck, old car over there. Pretty cool. So it was right about now that I realized the car was having issues going into gear. It was getting increasingly hard to tell whether you were going into first or reverse. I kept putting the car into reverse. I'm sure I scared the crap out of the person behind me at that stoplight back there, and it was pretty interesting. What's up? So I made it to Flagstaff. That's where I am right now. I just dumped one of the 5-gallon cans into the car. I'm a little bummed. There's quite a few stops I wanted to make just to show you guys some cool randomness along the way, but after the last stop by the lake, when I went to take off, it was actually kind of hard to get the car into first gear versus reverse. So that's been a little interesting. Luckily, I got out on the road and have just been cruising in fourth, so it's not like a tremendously big deal. I did start off in second in a couple spots. I'm guessing there's some linkage or something, bushings that are starting to wear out a little bit. That'll need to be looked at. The other thing was it's starting to, like, under 3/4 to full throttle in the higher RPM range, it starts to sputter quite a bit. And I just looked, the fuel filter looks a little questionable. You know, when you roll into it, it seems fine, and then once you get up into higher RPMs, maybe it's starting to get a little fuel starved because the fuel filter's possibly partially plugged, but you know, at cruising speed it goes. And so I think I'm gonna crank this thing back up, try and get the next 150 miles knocked out so I can go home and be lazy before I go back to work in the morning. So So this is what the last roughly hour of my video looked like. I was stuck in stop and go traffic, sweating like a crazy person. Part of it, I was on a decent grade and was afraid the car was gonna roll into the guy behind me that had been riding my butt the entire time. But I was foot on the clutch, foot on the brake. My leg was killing me, but I just couldn't take it anymore. Finally, I snuck off the freeway, parked for about 30-40 minutes, got back on and bombed the rest of the way home. We did make it home. Did I ever get the car shifting right? You're gonna have to stay tuned for the next mileage unknown.